I'm going to go over 7 business ideas that have the potential to reach 6 figures per year in revenue and probably a lot more. In this video, I'm also going to tell you about some examples, right? So I'm not just going to tell you some idea and then say, figure it out. I kind of am going to do that, but I'm going to give you some examples of successful versions of any of the business plans that I'm proposing to you. The other thing I'm going to do is give you a little quick math on the number of customers and what you may need to charge to reach 6 figures per year. Now, I usually talk about Amazon affiliate marketing most of the time, and I love affiliate marketing, but the fact is a service-based business is probably going to be a little bit faster to bring you money, all right? So there's a few reasons for that. Before I go too far, I'm Doug Cunnington. I'm the founder of Niche Site Project, and if you're new to the channel, have a look at some of the other videos. If you like what you see, please do subscribe. Now I'm gonna backtrack a little bit and talk about my favorite subject, myself. So I'm gonna go back a little bit to when I was 12 years old. I had a full head of hair and I was just a young kid, 12 years old, right? So I asked my dad, hey, can I get a CD player? He said, well, maybe, but if I get you a CD player, how are you gonna buy any CDs? You don't have any money. What are you gonna do? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm 12 years old. I'm a kid. I'm in middle school, right? But he said, you know what? Come up with a plan on how you can buy some CDs. So that night, I came up with some crazy business plan that actually wasn't that crazy. I basically was thinking, hey, I'm gonna cut grass and maybe I could charge people like $20. And if I can cut 10 lawns, maybe every couple weeks, that's like $200 and I'll be able to buy CDs. In fact, I was like, hey, I think I could buy the CD player. I just need to go out and cut some grass. I live, where people have lawns and it should be easy. So literally I outlined that little plan, showed my dad, and he said, great, that sounds good. And literally the next day, that Saturday morning, I remember pushing the family lawnmower up the street, ringing doorbells and asking people who had long grass. I was like, hey, do you want me to cut your grass? And I actually got a few people that day. The point is, a service-based business is something where you could do the work and people can hire you right away to start doing that work and you get paid immediately. Where the big flaw with the affiliate marketing model, while it's a lot more passive once you get established, the issue is it may take a few months. It may take 6 months or a year to start making a good amount of revenue. All right. But with the service-based business and these 7 ideas that I'm going to propose to you, you have the potential to make 6 figures and potentially do it within 6 months to a year. 6 figures, right? All right, so let's get into some of the ideas here. Just before we get into the 7 ideas, I will tell you a couple things. So you're probably thinking to yourself, Doug, if these ideas are so good, then why don't you do them yourself? That is an excellent question. I only have a certain amount of time. All right, so there's only so many things that I can work on, and I have found that I tend to overextend myself. And I also find that the fewer things that I do, the better I do in those fewer areas. So I literally don't have time, and I'm working on the things that I want to work on right now. The second reason I'm not pursuing most of these ideas is I prefer not working with clients. So if you're doing service work, you are working for a few clients, and I personally don't like working for clients. I've tried it in a few different capacities and I much prefer releasing courses or just giving away free information, right? I much prefer not having to answer to very many people, all right? So if you have clients, then you have to answer to them. You have to make them happy. That is literally the goal, is to do the service for the client. So I prefer not so much on the client work side. I prefer to work more as a teacher, and I just enjoy it more, so courses are perfect for me. And number 3, this is probably the main reason. So if you have a service-based business and it's going well, if you want to scale and grow your business, you basically need to have a team of employees. You need to have people executing the work. So there are a few ways to scale a service-based business. You can raise your prices, but at some point you may reach a ceiling of how much you could actually charge based on the value that you're bringing. But in general, if you want to scale, you need to have more customers, and to have more customers, you need to have people to do the work. Hence, you need to have a team. My previous job was working at a consulting company, management consulting, software area, and success meant you had a team of people working for you, and the more successful you were, the more people you have working for you. And I had that old job, and I prefer not having a big organization under me. I'd like to have a small number of people working with me. I could spawn up a quick team with freelancers, and that's what I prefer to do versus having just a big organization. So those are the 3 reasons I'm not pursuing it. It's a fair question to ask me, hey, if these are such great ideas, why aren't you doing it? That's exactly why. Without further ado, let's get to the point of this and talk about some business ideas. So my number 1 idea, and I think the top rated one that I would recommend, is a content service. So like I mentioned, I do a lot of work with Amazon affiliate sites, and I teach a lot of people about affiliate marketing. It turns out that a lot of people don't write a lot anymore, and they want to publish a lot of content on their website, but they can't write it all themselves. They will pay a premium price for content, and it turns out there are plenty of marketplaces out there. You can go to Upwork, you can go to Fiverr, and you can hire writers already. You could hire writers, and you could serve as the project manager and just sell the services, contract the writers, and serve as the intermediary. You can start this immediately. There are, hundreds and thousands of writers that you could hire within the next 6 hours if you got started, and they could start writing content for you. Now, you do have to find the customers and that sort of thing, but it turns out that business model is probably extremely profitable, and there's a lot of people that need content. Further, sort of like a side idea to make this sort of a premium service, because I do recommend, if you do any of these services, it's probably better if you have a premium model versus something really cheap. All right, your customers are probably going to be a little more flexible and more professional if they're paying higher rates. So I recommend a premium service. One way to make your content premium is to cater to a specific niche. So for example, let's say you're in the health and fitness niche, and you want to have sort of a premium content service focused around fitness. So you can hire writers that are all certified trainers of some capacity, so that they have expertise, and you would be able to charge much more than just a general writer, and your content would be a lot higher quality as well. If you find that little niche, you could figure it out, right? You could go and see what people are asking for. Maybe it's an outdoor site, and if you could find people that are survivalist and they spend a lot of time outside, they are going to have the right skills to write for that audience, and you'll be able to charge more. So content service, probably my number 1 thing, because people are trying to put out so much content. A couple examples are Content Refined and Human Proof Designs. They have a couple specialized content services. A lot of that is around affiliate marketing, but they also do other content as well. So you can check out a couple of those. I'll put links in the description. If you want to hit 6 figures for that, I did some figuring here. So let's make some assumptions, and these are wild ass guesses, all right? I'm just going to tell you these are some wild assumptions, and for a lot of these, it's going to be off. Most of the time when you make an assumption about any of these business models, it will be wrong, all right? But it is a starting point, and once you start doing the work, then you'll be able to figure out, hey, I need to focus in this area, this is how much it'll cost, my labor rates are going to be around this, so I need to charge more and that sort of thing. But you have to make some assumption to get started. My assumption to hit 6 figures with a content service, you could charge an average of $350 per month, and you would need 24 customers total. Most of the services have multiple packages, so some customers will buy like the cheapest, like shortest content, and some other customers will get, long form, 3,000 words, and they'll get it, 3 times or 5 times or 10 times a month. So you could have various packages out there available. Number 2 idea is a guest posting service. And I actually have one of these services, so I know it works. And I experimented with guest posting a few years ago, and I I got a little burned out and I got tired of doing it. But in the last couple months, I realized that I have a little capacity with some of the team that I work with, so I'm happy to offer the service. Now, the thing is, aside from content, it is the other big piece of the puzzle that people that build niche sites have to deal with. They often need links, and they don't know how to do guest posting, or they have more money than they have time. Guest posting does take a lot of time, a lot of effort. It helps to have systems, and the point is they're happy to pay for it, and there are many examples of guest posting services or link building services in general. My particular service, again, I try and work with like premium customers who are happy to pay premium prices to work with me, and turns out I'm happier and they are happier as well. So for this service, you should have some know-how in the area. In fact, for all of these, I wouldn't recommend you try to like pitch a service and you don't know how to do it at all, unless you're going to hire experts, like I mentioned for the content previously. So for guest posting, you could check out my service in sort of the prices that I charge. Let's see what those rates are. So let's assume that each customer, this is to hit 6 figures, let's assume that each customer will buy 10 guest posts throughout a year. So if you charge $200 per guest post, then you would need to have 50 customers to hit 100K. All right, so it's a little bit more expensive on a per unit basis, but you just need 50 customers, and the assumption is they're gonna buy more than like 1 per year, right? They're gonna buy 10 guest posts per year. 50 customers is what you need. The third idea is migrating sites from HTTP to HTTPS. So if you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's using an SSL certificate for your hosting. And I personally know that moving to SSL is kind of a technical exercise, and I've done it for a couple sites. One is Niche Site Project. I just had a regular hosting for years, but Google is using the security of a site, and whether it's hosted on SSL or using SSL is a ranking factor. And that's a very minor ranking factor, but it is important. And the thing is, most people are not going to be able to do this very easily. I figured it out on my own, but the first migration that I did, it took me like a day. I made some mistakes. And the second one that I did, it took just maybe 2 hours or so. So what you could do though is, provide the service, and you could also just find sites that are not secure. You could probably use some advanced Google searches and just find sites that look to be making some money that are not secure, and then you could just pitch them and say, hey, I don't know if you realized how important it is to move over to an SSL certificate, but I provide a service, it costs a certain amount, and I would love to work with you. Provide some testimonials, right? So this is kind of across the board. Testimonials are always important. Now, how much would you have to charge here? So this is kind of a faster job, and once you have the process down, you could probably complete it in just a couple hours. So you could charge like $100 per job, but you would need to have 84 customers each month. That's a lot of customers, but you would probably have like a couple people working on your team to do that for you. As I mentioned before, if you're scaling any of these services, like you're basically going to have a team. Now, I did mention this is a faster job and it's very process oriented. So once you kind of get it down, it's kind of like you get the credentials, you migrate it over, and it's a step-by-step situation. Now, the important thing is I highly recommend if you get into this kind of work that you know how to do it really well. Now, I'll put a link that outlines the process so that you could do this on your own. But like I said, you don't want to like migrate someone's site if you don't know what you're doing. And for any of these more technical things where you're working with someone's website, it's very important to back it up ahead of time. So if anything goes wrong, even outside of your control, you're able to restore their site. That's very important. For something like moving over to SSL and migrating someone's site, that is perfect to upsell on other services like our next idea, which is speeding up someone's WordPress site. Speed is a factor for like ranking in Google, and further, it's part of a good user experience, right? No one wants to go to a site that takes a long time to load, where it's just spinning and it never loads. So, in fact, I think a lot of people will bounce if a site takes too long to load. The good thing is there are many sites out there that don't have fast load times. So you could just find sites that seem to be loading slowly and pitch them. Now, I think I forgot to mention some of the other services for migrating to the secure sites, but for speeding up sites, I know there are a few out there. One of them is called WP Speed Fix, WP Faster, and if you go to like Fiverr, you can see there are dozens of people that will help speed up your site. So again, this is a pretty process-oriented thing. One of the other ninja things that you could do here is recommend people use a different hosting company. Part of a fast loading site is having the proper hosting package. And a lot of times, if you just move to a different hosting package, your site's just going to load faster anyway, even if you don't do anything else. So you could even have an affiliate relationship with hosting companies and make money there as well. The number of clients you would need and rates to hit 6 figures would be, let's see, if you had $230 per customer, right? If you, on the average, it was $230 per customer, you need to have 37 customers each month. However, you could make $50 to $100 per customer if you get them to move over to a different hosting company. So that could be part of your monetization as well. So on the low end, you can make 6 figures with about 30 customers per month. And again, you know, that's a lot of customers. You would probably need to have a couple people working on it. But again, this is another situation where you could actually sell the product, serve as a product manager and the account manager, and then hire people from Fiverr to do the specific work on those sites. Now, I would highly recommend that you are comfortable working with those folks. You know that they can do a good job and that sort of thing. Again, you stand to make a good amount of money from getting people to use a better hosting company as well. Next on our list is keyword research. So I personally don't do any sort of keyword research. However, as I've developed the keyword golden ratio, a lot of people have, I probably get a request once a week where someone wants to hire me to do keyword research, which is terribly boring to me and to many other people, and I just don't do it. I don't want to. Even if someone paid me a lot of money, I don't want to do keyword research. All right? Everyone has their price, but basically, I don't do keyword research. So you could do keyword research. Someone can tell you the niche, and you could do custom keyword research for them. You could find KGR terms and that sort of thing. One of the other reasons I think I was sort of repelled from doing keyword research is there's the potential to like resell the same keywords over and over again. So let's say a company is out there, they're selling keyword packages in like 10 different category niches and topic areas. They could literally just resell the same ones over and over again and no one would know. And I don't think that's very ethical. So I was like, I don't see a way around it. Even if you were doing like custom keyword research for someone and they sent me like 5 keywords, like as seed keywords, and I did more research, there is still a high potential that someone else could send me the same maybe common 2 or 3 keywords, and I could just resell them the same thing. Now, my friends over at Human Proof Designs, they do some keyword golden ratio and custom packages, but they also have just like regular packages of keywords that they will resell over again. The reason why I think it's okay is Human Proof Designs, they just disclose it. They say, hey, we sell these packages. They're common packages. They're much cheaper. And we sell these 10 times and then that's it. So whatever the specs are, they may have changed the policy, but it's roughly that. So I think if you disclosed it ahead of time, exactly what you were doing, that's probably okay. But for me, I'd rather teach someone how to do the keyword research than to do it for them. clients and rates to hit 6 figures revenue. So if each customer order was on average $150, then you'd need about 56 orders per month. Now, you need a good way of finding the keywords and sorting through all the data, but there are plenty of ways to do that. If you need ideas, you can check out the Keyword Golden Ratio Masterclass, where you can download a lot of data from like SEMrush or use other tools to get ideas. Next idea is podcast editing. So this is another very hot area, and some people just want to produce the content and not have to edit all the ums out and edit the material. You can find many different examples of podcast editing companies. Most of the time they have some sort of a retainer package or a certain package per month. That seems to be the service model for this sort of editing. You can also add on like developing show notes, doing the blog posts for the specific podcast, and that sort of thing. So pretty straightforward, a very productized service, and you potentially could have about 14 customers if you were charging on average about $600 per month. A couple of the companies that are already doing this are Resonate Recordings and We Edit Podcast, and in fact, if you just Google podcast editing service, you'll find dozens of them. There are tons and tons out there. If you go to Upwork or Fiverr, you can also find lots of people who are doing this independently. If I developed such a service, I would recommend the monthly package situation, or at least that would be the ultimate goal, to have someone, having you on retainer, and then you have like guaranteed revenue each month. Video editing is another area that is exploding. A lot of people have, YouTube channels. Obviously, YouTube's really popular. There are other areas where people are putting out video content, like I guess IGTV. I don't watch anything there. I just watch on YouTube. But the point is, people need help editing video. And if you look back at some of my earlier YouTube videos, you will see that I did my own editing, and it was kind of terrible. In fact, at some point, I was like, I gotta get out of this editing. I'm doing a bad job. It's taking me a very long time, and there are qualified people out there that can do a great job editing video. So Anastasia, my friend who's editing this now, is doing a fantastic job, and you could also provide a service in video editing. So there are a lot of companies out there that do video editing. Additionally, if you go to Upwork or Fiverr or another marketplace, you could probably find hundreds and maybe even thousands of people that do video editing. Similar situation as the podcast editing, I would highly recommend developing, or at least having the ultimate goal of a fixed package. Although Anastasia and I work together on an hourly basis, so you could develop it however you would like. So what would you need to hit 6 figures per year as a video editor? You could do it with about 12 customers if you were charging about $700 per month. Now, I highly recommend you check out some other existing companies and the packages that they have to sort of figure out the right way to shape those packages. So those are just a few of the ideas that I came up with as I was looking at services that either I use, services that I provide, or that I know for a fact people are looking for. The thing is, there are probably dozens of different ideas out there that you could develop into a 6-figure business probably within 6 months or a year, right? It's totally possible. The thing is, you could just go over to Upwork or Fiverr. You can search at the different categories of work that can be done. So I talked about things where maybe you need to have specific skills like video editing or content services, right? Like you may need to be able to work with writers and that sort of thing, or podcast editing, right? Specific skills. And if you don't have those skills, that's okay. You probably have some other skills that are fantastic that people would pay a lot of money for. But you just have to figure out what that is. And if you do go over to Upwork and you just look at some of the categories, there's like accounting and bookkeeping, or maybe you're a project manager like me and you can provide project management services. Or maybe you do voiceover work and you can do some voiceover work for companies, but you may have some skill and you just have to figure out how to get out in front of people, like in a marketplace, and like sell your work. And I want to talk about a couple of the, gory details here. And I can't go too deep into the gory details, but the ideas that I proposed here were fairly straightforward. They're simple, like problems that people need solved, and you can solve them in a pretty simple way. There's no like novel $1,000,000 ideas here. They are just problems that need to be solved. And I think that's really important. If you come up with like some new business model that you have to educate everyone on and you have to tell them why it's valuable, that is not something you're going to be able to just like make money with quickly. You need something like that content idea, right? People know they need content. They know it's a problem that they don't know how to solve. Maybe they don't know how to hire people on Upwork, for example, and you do, right? You can help solve that problem. And there's some value in having an existing market, right? I gave you examples of most of these business models. That's great. That means there's a market out there if there's successful companies operating. And you may be thinking, hey, there's too much competition. Well, if you're going to do anything, you're going to have competition. And the good part is there's a lot of people, like I personally know a lot of people that are looking for help with content or guest posting, for example, or video editing or podcast editing, right? People need help in those areas, and it's a good thing that there is competition. So don't let that scare you away. Now, the other thing that I need to point out is you can make six figures in any of the business models that I pointed out. It's not going to be easy. I may have glossed over the details and told you, hey, it's a simple business idea. It's not necessarily easy. However, if you're going to do anything where you're making six figures a year, you need to be providing a pretty good amount of value, at least six figures of value to other people, right? To your customers. You maybe need to provide even more than six figures of value, right? You need to be providing value to the world, and that's how you will get paid, right? If you're producing subpar content, if you're doing the content service, if it's subpar content or your customers aren't happy with it, like it's just not going to work out. The point being, it's not going to be easy, but it is definitely possible. And if you set your mind to it, to push your lawnmower up the street like I did when I was 12, and I was like, I'm going to figure out how to do this. And I did. I actually ended up cutting grass for the next probably 10 years or so until I finished college. I was able to make tens of thousands of dollars. I bought my cars with it. I put myself through college by doing that, or at least a portion of college. The other portion I actually did co-op work, but that's another story for another day. The point is, you could do it if you get out there and try. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be easy, but it's totally possible if you go out there and try. Okay, if you have any questions on the business models, leave comments below. If you have any ideas that you want to contribute, let me know in the comments below, and I'll put links for all the stuff so you can check out examples for the business models that I described today. Thanks a lot for watching. Again, I'm Doug Cunnington, Niche Site Project. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and welcome to the community. Thanks.